The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, North Star Borough, Alaska, on your new fire apparatus, job number 31355. Please utilize this job number when referencing your new apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start down at the front bumper area. On the face of the front bumper, passenger side, you'll find your electronic siren, PA speaker. Moving just inward of that location in the center, you'll find your Tender 33 logo, and on the outsides of that, you'll find your attachment points. Moving up onto the bumper, you'll find forward-facing fog lights. Moving up from that onto the body, you'll find your right and left turn and low and high beam headlight cluster. Moving inside onto the grille itself, you'll find a forward-facing emergency warning lights, and located next to the Pierce logo, you'll find your tank advisor visual indicator for the amount of water in your tank. Moving up from that on the outside edges, you're going to find dual air horns. Moving up from that, you're going to find your mirrors, flat and convex. And moving further up, you'll find your emergency light bar and running lights. Let's take a closer look at some of those items here. First, starting on the passenger side, we're taking a look now at the electronic siren PA speaker control, and also located in the center, your special attachment points, in addition with your Tender 33 call sign. Moving up onto the grille itself, emergency warning lights, and also that forward-facing visual tank indicator. Let's take a look at the light cluster here. Low and high beam light cluster, turn signals, and just above that, emergency side-facing warning light. As we look onto the side, you'll find your Tender 33 call sign, in addition with your air horns. Generalized view here of the side cab front portion of your apparatus. We're going to break down some of the components here. Let's start first at the driver's side door. We have perimeter lighting at the very base, just underneath the steps. There are 2 steps to access into the cab. In addition, with those 2 steps, this is the tank for your diesel fuel. As you can see, it's a 50-gallon capacity. As we move to the right of this location, you'll find your DEF. This is going to be a blue cap, and this is 4.5 US gallons. Moving just to the left of that, we'll find your engine heater, 120 volts. We'll also find an auto eject shore inlet. It's 120 VAC and a 20 amp plug. And to the right, when you're plugged into shore power, this will illuminate. It's your auto charging system. And then just beneath that, you'll find your air inlet to maintain brake pressure. Let's go ahead and look up into the cab itself. First, on the 2 points of entry of your cab, you'll find warning and hazard labels, in addition with caution labels. And I'll also point out this yellow placard. This is your manufactured by Pierce. We'll talk about that in a second. The red knob is your master battery switch. It's a quarter turn to turn on and a quarter turn to turn off. Back on the yellow placard here, this is your manufactured by Pierce Manufacturing. This has the date of manufacturing, January 2018, a job number. It also has gross vehicle weight ratings and cold tire inflation information. Moving over to the side here, you're going to find additional information with the VIN number, the device here, and fluid capacity, and also the fluid type. Let's go ahead and move down from this location onto the floor. This is going to be the battery switch. As you can see, left to turn on, right to turn off. As we look forward of that location, this is going to be your tilt telescoping steering column foot pedal. As we move just to the right of that location on the floor, you'll find a foot pedal for the air horn. Moving up from that location, we're going to find your engine and transmission. This is a plug for diagnostics. As we move up onto the dash, in the blue arrow here is indicating your headlights. Moving to the right, these are going to be your parking lights or running lights. And then moving further over to the right, you'll find this placard. This is going to be your height, length, and gross vehicle weight rating. Moving down, the silver knob, this is going to be your ignition switch. And then moving over to the right-hand side, this is going to be the brightness of your lights inside the dash area. Moving all the way to the right, the triangle, universal sign for warning or hazard. So those are your hazard lights. And then let's go ahead and take a look at the full spectrum of the dash. We have a speedometer, a tachometer, and then all of the normal function gauges on the dash. Moving to the right, just a quick look at this. We'll break down each of those components individually. Let's first start in the upper right-hand corner with your Allison transmission pad. And then we're going to move all the way to the right-hand side. This is going to be your diesel exhaust fluid, which is your DEF blue cap. This is the fill level. Moving to the right, this is going to be your air filter restriction. And then moving further over to the right, you'll find this do not move the apparatus when the light is on. This is indicating you have a compartment door open or a door open. To the right, 12-volt barrel style access. Let's move down from that location. We're going to find your axle interaxle differential for your tandem axle. And then we'll find all of your monitoring devices here for any onboard cameras that you may have. Moving up into the left corner here, we're going to start with the first emissions. This is your regeneration switch. Moving to the right is a manual auto switch. This is going to be to turn the fan on. Moving further to the right, you're going to find your engine retarder. Then we're going to find some electronic window controls. And then we'll move all the way down to the very bottom, and this is going to be your computer control knob. This is the round knob here to move through your menu system. To the right, we're going to find your transmission, auxiliary transmission information here. And then once again, window control. Let's go ahead and move just to the right of this location. We're going to find your climate control. This is going to be fan speed on the left. It's going to be where you want that air delivered, and then temperature. You'll find also two switches here. First, the ATC, which is your automatic traction control, and then your ABS, which is your off-road ABS. In yellow, you'll find your pull to apply your system parking brake, push to release. General view here of the dash in between the passenger and driver's seat. Let's talk about some of the components. This is going to be your siren control and also your PA control. Let's move just to the right of this location. We'll find 12-volt access. You're first going to find on the left side, this is going to be a USB style plug-in, 12-volt, and then to the right, barrel style. Let's start up in the upper left-hand corner with the red switch as your high idle. You also have two indicators, OK to engage the high idle, low voltage, your load manager, and then you also have some more identifying tank fill and ladder rack. Down to the lower section. Emergency master, your roof lights, your front warning lights, side warning lights, lower rear warning lights, and upper rear warning lights. All of these switches here have an identifier illumination within the tip of the actual switch. In the yellow with the black knob here, this is going to be your pump shift. As you can see at the very top section is the road position. As you move down to the center, it is a neutral position, and then all the way down is your pump mode position. There are two lights indicating pump engaged and OK to pump. Let's take a look at the next set of switches here. First, we'll start on the upper left-hand side. This is going to be your driver dump valve. You also have a variety of different information, open and closed indicators, and you'll also find side and rear dumps. You're also going to find your tire chains and also all of your different lighting at the very bottom and seatbelt information in the upper right. Just a quick note, you will find these candy cane style warning labels. It's indicating do not remove. There is spare wiring behind this panel, and it's clearly labeled as to what they're for. In the very back center console, you're going to find resource storage locations. Let's go overhead. This is going to be a pull rope. This is for your air horns. And then let's take a general view here of the side of the apparatus. We'll start and talk about some of the components within this area. Let's first start with the compartment first, the one that has the 911 on the side, number 1 compartment. Just underneath this compartment, you'll find you have a fully enclosed pump. As we move up from that, you'll find on the right-hand side a fold-down step. You'll find plenty of hose storage just above the pump panel, and then we'll break down some of the components here within that pump panel. Let's start down in the lower left-hand side. This is a 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. Moving to the center, the Pierce American Flag Eagle. This is going to be your large diameter intake. You'll also find a warning guide here indicating that only trained personnel should operate this vehicle. Here's some close-ups here of that auxiliary inlet, 2.5-inch. As we move over to the right-hand side, we're going to find, once again, the Pierce logo, American Flag Eagle. This is your large diameter pump intake. Moving down just from this location across the bottom, you're going to find all of your drains. They are color-coded and labeled. And as we move further to the right, just up from that location, you're going to find your pump drain. Let's go ahead and move up just a little bit higher than this on the pump panel. Let's start first on this side. We'll talk about the components. This is going to be your equipment powered rack. Those are the controls for that. We'll talk about the gray section here next. These are going to be your pump intake and discharge. And then we'll talk about the control for your speed and also pressure. First, let's start down at the very bottom. You can see there are two 2.5 inch discharges here, one in blue, one in red, individually labeled and color coded. To the left, you're going to find a warning label regarding caution when using or opening caps. They could be pressurized and there could be associated hazards with an under pressure cap. This is your tank to pump. You can see it's in black. Let's go ahead and take a look at this placard here. This is going to be your maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. You can see the RPMs associated with 150 PSI and so on. This also has a governed speed of 1400 RPMs. You can see information here for pumping in 4th gear direct. As we look over to the right, we're going to find number 1 and number 2 crosslay, yellow and white. And then you see once again the number 2 and number 4, 2.5 inch. You'll find while operating your primer, you need to operate the primer for no more than 1 minute. And it's a pull for this mechanism. To the right is your water level. Moving further up, we're going to find in this gray area the powered equipment rack. You'll find the on-off switch and also lift up and down. There are instructions on that. Moving to the right, you'll find your master intake on the left and your master discharge on the right. And then just beneath that, you'll find the test ports for vacuum and pressure. To the right, you'll find this is a turn engine cooler, not a pull. Moving just up from this location, still in that gray area, you're going to find your pump boss. But first, let's talk about this black thing that the arrow is indicating. This is an audible speaker. You do have the ability to damper down the amount of noise coming out of that. You're also going to find your pump boss located here in the center. It also has information here, digital readout, and also your information regarding engine oil, temperatures, and battery. Let's move further to the right-hand side. We'll take a look at some switches here. First, let's start at the very top. You'll find your pump panel lights. As you move down, you'll find an indicator that your pump has been engaged properly. You'll also find your pump compartment heater and also a diesel heater switch. There's also future switches above and below, and at the very bottom, a red air horn button. This is going to be your tank fill and recirculating line. You can see it's a 12-to-1 ratio on the valve turns. As we move to the right in green, this is your large diameter passenger side discharge. Once again, 12-to-1 ratio. Let's go ahead and move down to the next set of images here. This is going to be the speed blades on the left, just behind the cab. There are 2 of them, one stacked on the top of the other. And then just beneath that, you're going to find your wheel chock storage location. Let's go ahead and move back to the next compartment back. This was just above the wheel chock storage location, and we'll take a look inside this compartment. Once this roll-up door is open, you can find a fixed shelf in this area. It is adjustable. And as you can see on the left-hand side, I've got a little closer image here. This is going to be a Shoreline outlet 20 amp plug. Let's move up to the very top of this compartment. You're going to find a couple of different items. First, on the left-hand side, this is your air compressor when plugged into shore power. You'll find that this is operational, and you'll also find your auto charging system when plugged into shore power. Let's go ahead and move back, take a look at some of the other compartments. You'll find a turn indicator and an emergency light here. And then as we look in between the dual set of wheels here, we're going to find an additional compartment doors and also a smaller access door. Let's take a look at the small access door first. As you can see, it drops downward. These are long, lengthy access doors. There are both of them right above the rear set of duals. You'll also find in the middle this smaller access door here. This is also a drop-down style. This can be used for bottle storage. And then let's go ahead and move further to the back here of the rear set of the wheels, and we'll see some of the items here. First, side-facing emergency warning light, and then you also have a couple of smaller access doors. Let's take a look inside some of the smaller one. This is the same configuration as the front wheel access here, same long compartment. Let's now take a look here. This is a smaller access door. This houses the ability for bottle storage once again. It's a round compartment. Then there is another access door just beyond the bottle storage location, and this is going to be the location of your side dump. Let's look straight up from this location. You'll find side-facing side-facing floodlights, and then you'll also find a tank vision here. This is indicating the amount of water in your tank. At the very top, you can find your rigid suction hose at the top. And then at the back of the apparatus on the side, you've got the 360-degree emergency light, and then just above that, a rear marker light. Let's look underneath this location here. At the rear of the apparatus, we're going to find perimeter lighting and also 3 marker lights in the center, which are your running lights. Let's go ahead and take a look at the side and rear. Let's focus in on the rear of the apparatus. A lot of items to talk about here. Let's first start with the tail light cluster, starting with the turn, brake, emergency light, and also a backup light. There are also a couple of switches here. We'll talk about those in a few moments. But let's talk first up from the cluster. You're going to find on the right and left side these chrome access doors. Additional hose storage or long tool storage can be on these, and this is the compartment when it's open. Matching compartment on the passenger side also. Let's now move to the very center of the apparatus. Let's talk about these 2 storage connections. These are going to be tank fills, large diameter, both right and left side. And then we'll talk about in the very center, this is your rear dump. As I move up from this here on this next image, I have an image of the actuator here, which allows you to open and close the dump valve. This is an air actuated valve to open and close. There are switches on the rear that control this and also on the dash. Here's a close-up here of the passenger side tank fill. Once again, large diameter inlet. Let's take a look at those switches real quick, and also in the center, just off the sides of those dumps, you're going to find an attachment point, and then up in the upper corners, you'll find those rear dump valve and also passenger side dump valves. Let's go ahead and take a look at the center section here. You'll find at the very top a backup or reverse camera. Just beneath that, you're going to find some scene lights and a floodlight. At the very top corners, you're going to find emergency warning lights. And in the very center between the tender logo, you'll find an additional visual indicator for the amount of water in your tank. This is going to be a top view here of the storage location for your hose bed. At the very top, you can see all of your hose bed dividers are adjustable, and at the very left side here of the image, you'll find this black cover, which is your water tank top fill. Generalized view here of the rear section again, you'll find on the passenger side, this is going to be your top access, a ladder. And as we move around to the passenger side, we'll find once again emergency lighting and also a tray just above, which houses your rigid hose or drafting hose. Just beneath that, you're going to find ladder storage for a 24-foot extension, 14-foot roof. And then as we move further down, we'll talk about some of the components here. Once again, for the most part, these are all going to be the same as the opposite side of the vehicle. There are a few exceptions. First, let's start in the very rear. This is going to be your passenger side dump. Moving just over to that, you'll find that small compartment there. As we look inside this compartment, same as the opposite side, bottle storage location. And then just next to that, an emergency warning light. As we look just above this location, we're going to find 2 of those long compartments, same configuration as the opposite side of the vehicle. And then we'll find that smaller compartment in between the tandem axles. This is a drop-down compartment, once again, bottle storage location for your SCBA bottles or oxygen bottles. Let's go ahead and move up just above this. We're going to find that same configuration, those 2 long compartments. This is going to be the front compartment, and you can also see emergency warning side-facing light and also a turn marker light. This is with the compartment door down. You can see significant storage in this area. As we move to the next compartment forward, this is going to be the roll-up door on the passenger side. Just before we get to that, you're going to find that emergency side-facing light and also this turn marker. Let's go ahead and move underneath the door that we're looking at currently, and we'll find the air bleed. This is going to be for your air tanks for your brake system.
Let's go ahead and look inside the compartment now. You can see there's a fixed shelf. Once again, LED lighting inside there. And then let's go ahead and move directly above this location here. We'll find a side-facing floodlight and also a tank indicator indicating the amount of water in your tank from green, blue, yellow to red. Let's go ahead and move now to the next compartment forward, this large compartment. Let's first start underneath that, and you can see that there is a fold-down step, and also kind of difficult to see from this image, but also a fully enclosed under tank section for under your pump. Let's go ahead and look here. This is going to be the opposite side. This is that through compartment midsection here for your pump panel. Let's talk about some of those. First, you can see you have tub storage for hose down in the lower section. This is not accessible unless the door is open. As we move up from that location, we're going to find similar components. First, starting on the right, 2.5-inch auxiliary, large diameter intake, and then a large diameter discharge. These are all your drain valves here. You can see a little bit of water on them here, but large diameter passenger and passenger side 1, number 4, and number 2. Also the drains for cross lane number 2, and also your passenger side auxiliary inlet drain. On the very far left, the Storz connection, this is going to be your large diameter discharge, and then you also have a 2.5-inch discharge. You'll find the American flag Pierce logo with the eagle on it, large diameter passenger side intake, and then also a warning label just above that. To the right or forward of this location, this is your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. Let's go ahead and move forward. You can see there's a couple access doors here for behind pump panel, and there's also your powered equipment rack here just to the very front section. As we look forward, you'll find those 1.5-inch cross lays. Those are speed loads, and those can be removed, hose loaded, and restored back to their positions. And you also have additional hose storage above your pump panel or additional storage for other options. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Passenger side, I would like to point this out. This is a sticker here regarding you warning for extremely hot diesel temperatures and that pipe could be very hot. Inside the passenger side on the seat, you're going to find comfort controls. As we move up, you'll find your glove box and also heating and air conditioning vents. Moving over to the passenger side also, you're going to find your vehicle data recorder and also audible alarms. Generalized view here of the front of tender 33 and the side. Congratulations, North Star Borough, Alaska, job number 31355. Good luck with your apparatus. If you have any questions regarding some of the content of this video or any further questions, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.